have a public company. So we have a public company, shareholders invest today and probably they will sell tomorrow because they want to choose the shares that allow them to maximize the value of their investments. Now, shareholders ask for more dividends because the market is saying what? If you invest in a company like this, you should have 3-4% of return. And now we are not giving the 3-4%, we are giving less. But in order to increase the return for shareholders, we have, for instance, to reduce bonuses for employees. We cannot improve, as we expected, work conditions for employees. What is the best thing to do? Not for shareholders, not for employees, but for the firm. So, what is here the idea? So, the answer is, what is the effect if I don't satisfy the interest of shareholders? What is the effect if I don't satisfy the interest of employees? So, if I'm in a public company, normally I have to satisfy the interest of whom? For the interest of the firm, I mean. So, I have to give priority to the interest of whom? Of shareholders. But why? Because if they are not satisfied, they will change their investment. And what about the ability of the firm to attract capital? And if the firm is not able to attract capital, it means that it doesn't achieve the condition to survive. Because without capital, I cannot make investments. So also for the interest of employees, I have to give priority to the interest of shareholders. But because the interest of employees is to have not just the bonus, because bonus of course is important, but they want that the firm is able to survive. Otherwise, they don't just we don't take bonus, yeah, but we don't have our job because we don't have continuity of the organization. But now, and so now you are the CEO of this company. So you have to take this decision. So you want to satisfy the interest of shareholders. But why? Because you cannot talk with shareholders. They don't know you. They just invest their money. They will change tomorrow. But you know, you are the CEO, you know your employees. Because you are the boss of the company. So, what do you do? And you have to say to the employees that this year you cannot improve their work conditions. You cannot give them a bonus. But how you explain this? That's why in cases like this is important the emotional intelligence. It's not just technical intelligence, it's emotional intelligence. It means that as a CEO, we should have what? Empathy. And so, for instance, you have to say what to the employees? I know how you feel. Yeah, I know. Be sure that this year, yeah, you have to sacrifice what conditions and so on. Of course, respecting always the dignity of humans. We are talking about improving work conditions going ahead. But this year, we are not able to invest for improved work conditions, but for sure, we will do that next year. Because we have in mind, thanks to money given by shareholders to invest and having higher results. So please wait. And if employees trust you, and they trust you, why? Because normally what you say will be respected. That's why. So communication is important. So how when you stay here and you communicate to your colleagues and you are presenting your business idea, tomorrow you will have, for instance, 100, 200 employees in front of you, and you have to talk with them, not just sending a message on WhatsApp. Now, I want to move from a public company to a company that is controlled by a family. We have just one shareholder that invests 100%. We have the same situation. Shareholders ask for more dividends, but employees want to improve what conditions? What is the right thing to do? You have to think to the effect. Remember, when we say think to the effect on the interest of the firm. Yep.
So we have to communicate with the shareholder that the company won't survive if we don't invest in the condition of employees.
You can talk with the shareholders, with the main shareholders, because the main shareholder normally is in the board of directors. So you can say to the main shareholders, our recommendation as board members is to satisfy the interests of employees. And as a main shareholder, I say, why? Because this is the situation of employees. And if we satisfy this interest, probably they will reciprocate. And it's not so difficult sometimes to convince the main shareholders. So the main shareholders could say what? Now it's important to give priority to the employees. So I can say I don't want all dividends, but just a part. Or there are some shareholders that don't cash in dividends for years. 4 years. But why? Because they are not, of course, only shareholders. There are CEOs, directors of the company. So they receive a salary for being there as managers. And they decide not cashing dividends. But why? Because they want to maintain dividends, income, positive income, profit within the firm, to allow the firm to make investments without using the capital of banks. So without using too much debt. So these are responsible shareholders. But remember that. Here you find a difference. Value creation for the firm and value creation for the firm and its stakeholders. What is the difference? For instance, our theory is here. So the concept of economicità is linked to that. Why? Because, pay attention to that, because if I say that for me, company, the firm is primary, is more important than all stakeholders. I could say what? For instance, in a case where there is a conflict between the shareholders, but that shareholders want dividends. Employees want to improve work conditions. And I know that the best thing for the firm is to don't distribute dividends. Suppose that I talk with the shareholders and I say, so, have you understand? And the shareholders say, yeah, I completely understood what you are saying, but I want to cash in dividends. Can you, as board members, as a governance, say no because we have to be the interest of the firm? Because the firm is like a sanctity. So the interest of the firm is not to distribute dividends. It's important for the survival and growth of the firm to maintain dividends. Can we refuse dividends to the shareholders? Yes or not? The answer is no. We cannot do that. That's why we have to find an equilibrium between the interest of the firm to survive and grow, and the freedom of shareholders. Okay? So we cannot say that the interest of the firm is more important than the interest of shareholders, because if we say that, we remove the logic of capitalism that is based on the freedom of owners, of individuals. We cannot do that. Yeah.
What we can do is negotiate with them, because we cannot do anything.
We distribute dividends.
Yeah.
So, according to our model, the primary, so the particular, pay attention, we will make this difference. The particular interest of the firm is to don't distribute dividends, but this is a particular interest. The primary interest of the firm is to distribute dividends, because the primary interest of the firm wants to find an equilibrium between its particular interest and the interest of shareholders. And we so this model is the model that I'm proposing. So it's new. You don't find this model elsewhere. It's unique, you can say. So, and this is important because when I ask managers how to solve situations like this, they don't have instruments to decide. So what is the thing that, according to the primary interest theory, we can have the solutions for all dilemmas, also ethical dilemmas in all organizations. Suppose, this is another, suppose that if, so the interest of the firm, suppose that we are here, okay? The interest of the firm is to survive and grow thanks to the profit. We can maximize profit corrupting a public official. Yeah, we can increase our business. Or, for instance, we can increase our profit cheating customers or cheating suppliers. And if we do that, we increase the profitability of the firm. And this is the right thing to do. This is the interest of the firm, to survive and grow. Can we do that? That's why I put there value creation for the firm and its stakeholders. It means that it's important, of course, to create conditions for the survival and growth of the firm, but being, remember this term, compliant with the norms, legal norms and ethical norms. Okay? So we cannot say, okay, I corrupt, I don't respect the dignity because of the interest of the firm. Because in this case, the interest of the firm is just to maximize profit and is against the common good. If we really want to achieve the common good, profit is important, of course, but not the criminal profit or the irresponsible profit. Because if we achieve the profit in a responsible way, it means that we are going against the common good. Common good wants that these case firms operate for making profit, of course, because profit is a condition for survival and growth, but being compliant with the rules. Legal rules and ethical rules. Okay? So, this is the concept of economicità and the importance of the concept of economicità linked to the finalism of the organization. Sometimes managers don't have the ability to make a correct choice. Why? Because they are too much focused on the operating activity. We need principles. If we don't have principles, when we find complexity, it's impossible to find a solution. Principles could give us easy answers to complex situations. But because we have principles, if we don't understand this, so we can understand, for instance, how to make an exercise, a very complex exercise on how to determine the income of the year, because we know the techniques that allow us to do that. Okay, we are, so I'm very satisfied by that because I'm able to solve the exercise. Yeah, so you are a good person for solve technical problems. But when you have more variables and you don't have principles to decide, it's impossible for you find a solution. So that's why we are spending a lot of time in the fundamentals of business, because these are fundamentals of business. Then you will have courses for organizations, for strategies, for law, for accounting, and so on. Now we need fundamentals. Once we have fundamentals, we can understand better the techniques of the single functions of the firm, and then when you will work, you will not have time for theory. You just focus on practices. But here at the university, you have to learn the theory, and good theory. Because like you say, okay, theory is good, but what about the practical situations? How can solve? So if the theory is not useful to solve practical situations, it's just theory. We want useful theory. Okay? Okay, now we can go ahead and yeah, now we can classify the aziende. What is the way we classify the azienda? So we distinguish two different types of aziende, and the classification is taking into consideration the relationship with the market. So we have the economic entities that produce for the market, and economic entities or aziende. I want now to remove the concept of agenda. I want to use the concept of economic entity. It's internationally recognized, but I do not understand why the concept of azienda is important. It's not just because we have the economia aziendale theory. We have the interest of the firm, because we have many important tools that are fundamental to solve the problems, the global problems that have today. It's not just because it's an ideology. So I'm an economist of azienda, so I want to stay here talking because according to me, this ideology is good. Is even because when we consider the economia aziendale theory, within the economia aziendale, we find many theories, and the economia aziendale asks us to not just focus on the economic science, but as economisti d'azienda, as a scholar of the economia aziendale, we have to study many disciplines. For instance, psychology, sociology, philosophy, anthropology. Why? So I have to study all these things. But why? Because if I want to do the good for the azienda, so I want to have an economic activity contributing to the common good, I have to understand all the aspects within the firm, also the social aspect, also the psychological aspect. When we have the selection of employees, we have a person that knows psychology. So I have to select according to some principles. Yet we need some that is an expert of psychology. Also, sociology is important. Why? Because we don't want to understand how your mind is working, but also the interactions among persons. Because remember that the azienda is an economic, but also a social institution, because it's composed by persons. And so we have to understand the relationship among persons, and the relationship among persons within the firm and persons with relationship with persons that are outside the firm. So with stakeholders, because the firm is an open system. Okay? So we have entities that operate in the market and entities that do not produce or produce better, not operate, produce. Why is it important to say that these economic entities are productive entities? For some, for instance, the difference is we have economic entities that produce for the market and economic entities that give services to the market. For instance, here we have the so-called business entities. Business entities, remember, are entities. Now we can use the English term. Business entities are entities that operate in the market. So what are the synonyms of business entities? Firms, enterprises, companies. So we say that these entities operate in the market. What do we mean for that? That when these companies, when these business entities or firms need resources for the productive activity, they always buy resources from the market. They buy resources. They don't receive resources for free because they are not like associations. They are not like foundations. They are firms. They operate in the market. So what happens when you buy resources from the market? That you pay what? A price. And if we buy, for instance, this mobile phone, 800 euros, who gives this price, 800 euros? Why not, for instance, I'm Apple, I want to sell it at 3,000 euros. Why 800?
Not sell.
Yeah, but because the price is given by the market. That's why. We have demand, supply, intersection between demand and supplies from the price. So when we want to buy, I want to buy this mobile phone because it's important for my firm. I don't receive it for free. I have to buy it in the market. So I have costs. And so the value of the input is represented by the costs that I have to buy factors of production. And what about now? I'm a commercial company, I buy this mobile phone and I sell it in other countries. So, business entities operate in the market also when they sell their products. So, I buy it from the suppliers at 800 and I sell it in another country at 1,000. So, revenues are represented by the price the customers pays to buy this mobile phone. So the value of the output is given by the market. So the market gives the value of the input and gives the value of the output, both. That's why in this case we can, so this is the classification that we are using. Business entities are entities that operate in the market, means that they buy using the market, they sell using the market. Pay attention, because one could say, so we can say that business entities, we can also say for-profit organization. Why I don't want to use this term, for-profit organization? Because if I use this term, for-profit organization, I am saying what? That this organization have as objective what? Profit. But according to our theory, profit cannot be the objective of business entities. It's not the objective. They exist for profit, right? But they exist for what? Business and not shareholders, because we are separating the interest of shareholders from the interest of the firm. Pay attention. They are not the same. One could say shareholders are investing to maximize their profit. Yeah, good, very good. You are elaborating a business idea because you want to make money. It's good. It's a way the market functions in the not to satisfy needs. So business entities exist to satisfy needs. And what about profit? Because if we have a positive difference, revenues minus costs, we're able to make profit. So is it important? It's fundamental, yeah, for sure. But it's not the finalism of the firm. Is what? A condition that we have to achieve to allow the business entities to survive and grow. Okay? So I'm here. Is it important for me to breathe? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. It's a condition for me to survive. Otherwise, I cannot survive, right? What is my rule now? Is to breathe. What to say? But it's important, yeah, but it's a condition to survive. Now, I'm here with you. What is my objective? To create value doing what? A good lesson. So I have to satisfy the needs of my students. This is the finalism that I have, the objective that I have. In order to do that, I need, of course, to breathe. Otherwise, it's impossible. Now for you, students, is it more important that I breathe or that I do a good lesson?
You breathe.
Okay, good lesson. One could say, okay, try. No, it's important that you breathe. Okay. I say here, just breathing for 1 hour. You say that for you is and what you say. No. It's just important that you make a good lesson. Now I cannot breathe. I cannot. So what is the right answer? For us, it's important both. Because you have to breathe, and if you stay here, you have also to make a good lesson. Putting passions and all the things that we know. So when we think to firms, we cannot say that, okay, satisfaction of needs is more important than profit or profit. No, they are on the same level. However, we have to distinguish why firms exist from how they can survive and grow. The condition the most important condition for survival for firms is represented by profit. But they do not exist to make profit, they exist to satisfy needs. It's the state that decides that firms could operate. Because it's the state that says, I'm not a planned economy, I allow companies, I allow the market to operate because it's better than me to satisfy needs. So you exist, firm, to satisfy needs, not to make profit. However, in order to allow market to create value, I have to say to the entrepreneur, if you are so good in having an economic activity, so the value of the output, so you are so good in creating value, economic value, so the value of the output is higher than the value of the input, you can maintain for you the profit. Okay? So this is the functioning of the market, and that's why we are distinguishing these two parts. Okay? Now, when we have business entities pay attention, could operate in different sectors. For instance, we have firms that are in industrial sectors, we have banks, insurance companies, commercial companies. There are companies that operate in different sectors. Business entities. Business entities could be controlled by the state or could be controlled by private institutions or private persons. For instance, if we think to the most important companies in Italy are all controlled by the state. Eni is controlled by the state. But any is a business entity, yes or not? Yeah, for sure. Is a business entity, but why? Because any operates in the market. In situations of competition. But pay attention, because when we say market, market could be a competitive market, but we have also other situations of market. For instance, is a market also monopoly or oligopoly, where we have just, or in the case of monopoly, we have just one firm that satisfies needs. Oligopoly, we have just few firms that satisfy needs. But it's always market. So when we say market, we are not just focusing on the competitive market. Yeah?
Can you give us some examples of companies that operate in monopoly or
Yeah. In Italy, for instance, we have one company that is Terna. Terna operates in a situation of monopoly. Terna is controlled by the state. And what is the object of the firm? Terna transmits energy from one part to another of the country. The state decides for this activity is important to have the monopoly. And the monopoly is from the state. Of course, it's the state that has the monopoly. So prices of transmission are not decided by the market. But the state decides. So what could be the problem when we have a monopoly? For instance, for oligopoly, we have companies like wind, telecom, because we have few companies. According to you, is it possible, for instance, from Vodafone to buy telecom and to buy wind and Iliad to have a big company? Is it allowed by the state, yes or no?
No.
Absolutely no. But why? Because if we have too much concentration, we have a situation of monopoly, and I say if you want to make a call, you have to spend €2 for each minute. There is just one operator. If you want, so the monopoly has this problem. Monopolies could increase prices, reducing the quantity of services, having extremely high profits. Even if firms that operate in this situation do not use the economicità as a method of action, because you don't need to use economicità. You don't need to be efficient. You can also waste resources. You waste resources, and so you can say, so if I waste resources, the value of the input is higher than the value of the output. You can solve the problem, increases prices. So the value of the output is able to, of course, to cover the value of the input, also resources that you are wasting. Okay? And you operate in which situation with your business idea? In an extremely competitive market. But you want to do what? You want to achieve the competitive advantage. Say, there are firms that are in the market that are producing something that is similar to me, but I want to do more. This is the competitive. When you say I want to achieve the competitive advantages, you are doing what? You are satisfying other needs. So this is so if the market works well, it could be a contribute for all this society. So I say, this is the competitive advantage. And if you are good, what happens? If you are good, that you can make profit for that, and what about competitors that are not able to survive? I want to ask you this question. You have the possibility to go in a market and having a new product that is fantastic. But you know that using this product, many companies will fail. So they don't have a possibility to pay a salary to employees. They fail. What is the right thing to do? No, but you don't. So, two options. One, I don't do the investment in order to allow other companies to survive and pay salaries to families and so on. But your product is extraordinary. You don't need employees, just few employees. So your impact will be enormous.
I mean, they should be pushed in being more competitive and investing in development. So if you have an extremely successful product, you launch that product, and they have to adapt to the situation of the market. I think.
You go ahead, of course, and they have to adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
Now, suppose, this is a market. I cannot say no because I'm so altruistic. Why? Because if you do that, what is the risk? That you don't go ahead with innovation and you don't satisfy needs that you can better satisfy. But suppose, so this is another question. These are so-called ethical dilemmas. And not just difficult choices. A difficult choice is, for instance, I want to buy a car, but I don't know. There is a Volkswagen and a Peugeot. So it's a difficult choice, but it's not an ethical dilemma. What is the difference between an ethical dilemma and a difficult choice?
It affects a human life.
When we talk about ethical dilemmas, our choices have impact on humans. That's the difference. Okay? So, for instance, during COVID, I have just one device, and I have to decide if save person A or person B. What is the right thing to do? Is an ethical dilemma because I have to sacrifice one of them. What is the right thing to do? One is criminal, and one is a very good person. What is the right thing to do? I have an ethical dilemma, and I have to decide. One I know is a criminal. He killed a lot of persons, and I know that. One is a good person. I look to another thing. This is the ethical rule that physicians use when they have to act in situations like this. What about the life expectation? So if one is 80 years old and the other is younger, so if the young man is a criminal, I have to save life to the criminal. Because the life expectation is longer. But why? Because they both have the same human dignity. That's why. But if I use, so this is according to a deontological aspect. If I use another theory, ethical theory, that is the utilitaristic theory, I completely changed my choice because I said, what are the consequences if I save the life of a criminal? Other people will be killed. So I look at the consequences, costs and benefits of the consequences of my choice. But in this case, we are not using the utilitaristic approach, but a deontological approach. All humans have the same dignity. So we don't link, pay attention, the human dignity to the utility. And this is the common good approach. Because if I link the dignity to the utility, means what? That you have dignity when you are useful, when you are productive. If you don't produce anymore, you don't have dignity. But you cannot lose your dignity. But why? Because you are unique. because as humans you are unique. Doesn't exist someone like you. You are unique for whom? For also for instance for your parents, for you know, as we say, I cannot say to my children, okay, tomorrow I'll not be here anymore. There will be another like me. Is more or less like me, same age, or also the hair will be similar and so on. Okay, let me see. Okay, it's more or less like you. It's not possible. Okay, it's not possible because I'm unique. As all humans are unique. Okay. So let's go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Is it possible that in a situation of monopsony, we say that the company is completely dependent on the buyer?
Depends on it.
Dependent on the buyer.
Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Why? Because it's a monopsony. It's another situation. So we don't have one seller, but one buyer. So it's a situation that is opposite to monopoly. Yeah. Now let's go to the non-business entities. Within non-business entities, we find public entities, cooperatives, associations, foundations, local government. So all the world of public administrations and all the world of non-for-profit organizations. So foundations and associations. Remember that for public administrations we have the state, government. When we say non-for-profit organizations are the organizations that are owned by private persons. So for instance, you want to open not a firm, but an association as a private, because you know that some needs are not satisfied by the market, not by the state, and you want to satisfy these needs. But you are not in a market. In this case, why? So what is the reason why private want to satisfy needs of others? Here, we don't have profit. Do you remember the different goods that could increase the happiness of people? In case of non-profit organizations, what are the goods that satisfy the needs and increase the happiness of privates that want to satisfy needs of others? Yeah? Maybe transcendent goods. I want to do better for others. So I want to participate in an association, I want to create an association. So we are humans, so we have different ideas, or we can measure two things. For instance, there is not conflict between profit and non-for-profit organizations sometimes, because I could say, I want to invest in Microsoft, but why? Not because I want that Microsoft put my money in donations and so on. Suppose that I invest in Microsoft. I invest in Microsoft, that is a business entity. What is the role of the business entities? To satisfy my desire. My desire is to cash in dividends. But why I want dividends from Microsoft? Because, for instance, I want to use this money to invest in association, in a non-for-profit organization, or just I want to give money to an association, to a foundation. Okay? So, if I'm the CEO of Microsoft, I cannot take the money of shareholders saying, okay, give me your money and I invest your money in sustainability. What do you think? You are shareholders of Microsoft. I'm the CEO of Microsoft, and I say, I use this money to give a donation to WWF. What do you say? But it's not your rule. You are in a business entity, so you have to satisfy my desire. My desire is to increase profit. Because if you invest, pay attention, if you invest my money for philanthropic reasons, you are against my freedom. Because you are deciding how to invest my money. And I'm not free anymore. I decide for me. So if I invest in a business entity, this is what you have to do. Now, business entity, so why they do not operate in the market? Because, for instance, if we have public administrations, this is a public administrations, why we do not operate in the market? Do we have costs? Do we buy resources from the market? Yes, certainly. We buy, so I'm a professor and I'm a university. I'm not here for free. I'm not donate my time. I'm an employee of Tor Vergata University. And what about the projector? It's not donated by an association and so on. We buy this projector from the market, so we have costs. And what about revenues? Do you pay a price that is a market price? It's different. It's different. It's a public university, so you don't pay the price that you find in private university. Why? Because a part of course, how can we survive? Suppose that we have the cost of input that is equal to 100, and then we cash in not 100, but we cash in 60, because we have to allow all to attend the university, public university. So you contribute, giving a sort of ticket, but it's not a market price. It's a sort of ticket. So who give us the difference? Because then we have to buy. So remember that every organization should have a value of the output that is higher than the value of the input. So if we don't receive this money from students, we have to receive this money from the state. And we can receive money from the state because the state, thanks to taxations, have resources to distribute and to allow all to, for instance, have a good education and so on. Now, these are economic entities that produce for the market, and economic entities means economic activity, and we have a production process also in non-business entities. Don't forget that. Always we have a productive process. Always. Also in this case, this is a productive process. Why, according to you, is important to have in mind that these are economic entities and these entities have an economic activity? What is the attribute that becomes important? Because if we say these are economic entities, because here we want the value of the output that is higher than the value of the, here public administration, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the economic activity. They just conduct an activity and do not produce, really do not produce. They give services to the citizens in order to allow their needs. What is the problem? And what is the principles that we want for the conduction also of non-business entities? There is one that is the most important, is the principle of, or attribute of economicità. We want economicità not only here, but also here. So don't say, if I ask you, for instance, the principle or attribute of economicità is valid just for business entities? No, it's also valid for non-business entities, because also non-business entities will want effectiveness and efficiency. Okay? Okay, and here you can find the representation of the three different attributes, so decision-making autonomy, economicità, and systemic vision. So, starting from 0 to the maximum systemic vision, decision-making autonomy, and economicità. For instance, suppose that, I want to ask you, do you remember the case of Google yesterday? We have a company, Geox Japan, that gives consultant services training courses to other companies of the group. Now we have to decide in which group we have to put Geox Japan. So, can we say that Geox Japan has a high systemic vision? Is a system? Is a subsystem. So we can say that the level of systemic for this entity is extremely low. Okay? What about the decision-making autonomy? Can we say that this company has a decision-making autonomy? No. So we are not here, but here. And what about the concept of economicity? Or I think that is not correct. It's economicità. What about? Can we say that this company has to operate with economicità? Yes. So we can stay here. Group number 3. Okay? And so the aziende are in which group? So the real azienda is in the group number? Number 8, because we have maximum economicità, maximum decision making autonomy, and maximum systemic vision. This is just a way to represent different situations. Okay, just few considerations on criminal and irresponsible organizations. Here we have the responsible azienda. The responsible azienda is, so we have to distinguish here the what and how. What is referred to what the azienda is producing. What is the object produced by the azienda? So the object could be licit or a legitimate object and ethical, or licit, legitimate, but unethical. So, but the azienda is responsible, but the what is producing is not so ethical. What could be? Companies that operate in which sectors? There are companies that operate in so-called controversial industries. Why did yeah?
Weapons.
Yeah, good weapons. Then gambling, for instance, gambling or tobacco companies. So is it forbidden to be gambling? So we have, for instance, in Italy, one important company that is one of the biggest companies in the world. Is Lottomatica, that operates in this sector. Can we say that this is an irresponsible company? Is a responsible company when? So pay attention to this. So the responsible agenda could be a legitimate object or illegitimate or better unethical object. We have to look at the how to produce, because Lottomatica, as all the other aziende that operate in the market and are responsible, they are responsible why? Because they produce being compliant, so they respect rules, legal rules and ethical rules. So, do you know what is now the mission of Philip Morris? So, what is the mission of Philip Morris? You know, it is in within the controversial industry of tobacco. They want to completely eliminate cigarettes. They want to eliminate this kind of business. So they are transforming in another completely different company, Philip Morris. So say we want eliminate first cigarettes, electronic cigarettes, and we will completely change our business. because we do believe in some principles. Probably this is guided also by what? Profitability. Cannot separate this aspect, but it's good. Then we have irresponsible company. What about what they are doing? Could be ethical or unethical. I could produce unethical. For instance, I sell mobile phone. Yeah, this is I'm a company that sells mobile phone. So the object is absolutely ethical. But why I'm not responsible? I'm not responsible because I'm not in compliance with rules. For instance, with legal rules or ethical rules, because I do not respect the dignity of humans or employees that operate in my firm. So I'm not responsible. And what